Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where Trump's so vain, he probably thinks this joke is about him, this is Ballot.
That's right. But the best part of this first story is that there's a decent chance Trump gets my name wrong when he gets mad about it. Hi, I'm Patrick Gutfield, and Rolling Stone reports on what might be the most uncomfortable topic in politics right now: President Trump's increasingly frequent senior moments. And when I say uncomfortable, I mean the kind of uncomfortable where everyone in the room is pretending not to notice that Grandpa just called the mailman President Roosevelt. Trump is now the oldest man to assume the presidency in United States history. The same Trump who spent months attacking Joe Biden for being too old and cognitively declining. Which creates this awkward situation where Trump is now older than the guy he said was too old to be president. That's like complaining that your neighbor's music is too loud and then turning your own stereo up to 11. Rolling Stone has compiled a greatest hits collection of Trump's recent gaffes. And honestly, it reads like a medical textbook chapter on warning signs your relatives should maybe stop driving. First up, Trump told a completely false story about his uncle teaching the Unabomber. At a Pennsylvania energy summit, Trump claimed that Ted Kaczynski, the guy who mailed bombs to people, was one of his uncle John Trump's students at MIT. Trump even claimed he asked his uncle about Kaczynski, saying, "What kind of student was he, Uncle John?" Here's the problem. Literally none of that happened. Kaczynski never went to MIT. He went to Harvard and the University of Michigan. John Trump died in 1985, more than a decade before anyone knew who the Unabomber was. So Trump is having conversations with his dead uncle about a terrorist who wasn't identified until after said uncle died. That's not political storytelling. That's the setup for a really weird seance. Then there's Trump's confusion about Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Trump has been complaining about Powell, saying he was surprised he was appointed and that Biden put him in and extended him. Plot twist. Trump appointed Powell in the first place. Trump is literally surprised that Trump appointed Powell. That's like being shocked to discover you're wearing your own shoes. At this point, Trump is so reflexively blaming Biden for everything that he's erasing his own decisions from memory. Trump also recently dumped on his own trade deal. During his tariff discussions, he criticized past North American trade agreements, apparently forgetting that he negotiated and signed the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement himself. He's basically reviewing his own work and giving it 1 star. "Who would ever sign a thing like this?" he asked. "You did, sir. You literally held a signing ceremony." But my personal favorite is when Trump called the Japanese Prime Minister Mr. Japan. During a Fox News interview about tariff deals, Trump said, "Dear Mr. Japan, here's the story. You're going to pay a 25% tariff on your cars." Mr. Japan, that's not diplomacy. That's like addressing a letter to Mr. Europe or Miss Africa. Mr. Japan sounds like he's one of the guys in the Justice Gang from the new Superman movie. Don't worry, Green Lantern. Mr. Japan's got this. The Prime Minister's name is Shigeru Ishiba, but apparently Trump's brain filed that under too complicated, just use the country name. The Japanese government, to their credit, figured out they were Mr. Japan and managed to strike a deal anyway, which shows remarkable diplomatic flexibility when your negotiating partner apparently thinks your name is your entire nation. During a press conference at a Florida detention center, which Trump built in the Everglades because apparently regular prisons weren't dystopian enough, a reporter asked how long detainees would be held before deportation. Trump's response? A rambling speech about how much he loves Florida and how he has a very nice little place, nice little cottage in Palm Beach. Nice little cottage. He's talking about Mar-a-Lago, which is about as much of a cottage as the Pentagon is a tool shed. But sure, it's a cottage if cottages typically have ballrooms and require their own zip codes. The reporter asked about detention timelines and got a real estate review instead. That's like asking someone for directions and getting their life story about why they moved to the neighborhood. But the crown jewel of this collection is Trump's West Point commencement speech, where he advised military graduates not to marry trophy wives. At a military academy! Trump went on this bizarre tangent about developer William Levitt, rambling about how Levitt's second marriage to a trophy wife didn't work out too well. A lot of trophy wives, it doesn't work out, but it made him happy for a little while, at least, Trump told future Army officers. Because nothing says military leadership like unsolicited marriage advice from someone who's been married 3 times. He continued, he sold his little boat. You got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world. He moved for time to Monte Carlo, and he led a good life. That's not a commencement speech. That's a fever dream about rich people's relationship problems. These cadets are expecting to hear about duty, honor, and country, and instead they're getting marital advice and yacht reviews. Trump gave the same speech at the University of Alabama, discussing Levitt's marital disappointments and advising graduates about something he calls momentum time, which sounds like either a self-help concept he invented or a physics term he doesn't understand. The thing is, during the 2024 election cycle, we had months of debate about Biden's age and cognitive decline. Biden had to drop out of the race because of concerns about his mental fitness. But somehow, when Trump has equally bizarre moments, it gets written off as Trump being Trump. But there's a difference between being eccentric and forgetting that you appointed the guy you're complaining about. There's a difference between being unconventional and thinking Japan's leader is named Mr. Japan. Rolling Stone points out that Trump is not today the same man who first assumed office in 2017. He has new health issues, less self-control, stronger authoritarian impulses, and visibly looser skin. Visibly looser skin! That's the kind of observation that's both medically accurate and deeply uncomfortable to contemplate. The most telling line in the Rolling Stone piece might be the conclusion. Unfortunately, for both the young and the elderly, taking one's own advice can often be the hardest lesson to learn. Because Trump spent so much time insisting that cognitive decline was disqualifying for the presidency. And now, we're watching him call foreign leaders by their country names and have imaginary conversations with dead relatives about terrorists. The real question is, if this was anyone else, would we be having a very different conversation about fitness for office? Or are we so used to Trump being Trump that we've stopped noticing when Trump stops being Trump?
What if everything you've been taught about happiness is wrong? We chase careers, approval, more stuff, hoping it'll finally make us feel fulfilled, but it never sticks. What if happiness isn't out there, but already inside you, just waiting to be unlocked? Discover the book, The Happiness Experiment. Every person has a unique happiness type, and when you understand yours, everything shifts. You'll stop chasing and start creating joy on your own terms. Discover your happiness type with a free happiness type assessment. Go to myhappinnesstype.com. That's myhappinnesstype.com. It takes just a minute and it might change your life. Then grab your copy of The Happiness Experiment at Books A Million. This isn't just a book, it's a practical framework, a journey inward. It's a tool to help you reconnect with the happiness that's been waiting inside you all along. Pick up The Happiness Experiment and start your happiness experiment today.
When wrestling legend Hulk Hogan died Thursday of cardiac arrest, there was another unexpected casualty. The future of Hooters might be hanging in the balance. Before his death, Hogan's Real American Beer brand had launched a bid to acquire Hooters, which filed for bankruptcy in June after abruptly closing dozens of locations. So now we are in the bizarre situation where the fate of a restaurant chain known for wings and orange shorts might depend on what happens to a beer company named after a wrestling catchphrase. Real American Beer had initially bid just for Hooters' intellectual property, but then expanded their offer to acquire all of Hooters of America, including over 400 locations worldwide. 400 locations! That's a lot of places serving buffalo wings under the guidance of someone who used to drop leg drops on people for a living. When Hooters filed for bankruptcy, management insisted the company wasn't going anywhere and would be well positioned to continue our iconic legacy under a pure franchise business model. Which is corporate speak for we're broke, but we're optimistic about it. Real American Beer was competing against a proposal led by Hooters Inc. So basically, it was Hulk Hogan's beer company versus the people who actually know how to run Hooters. That's like having a cage match between someone who understands restaurants and someone whose main qualification is that he once body slammed Andre the Giant. Real American Beer had big plans for Hooters, saying their bid was about rebuilding Hooters from the ground up, with a fresh operational model, new revenue streams, and a cultural strategy designed to re-engage diners in their 20s and 30s. It shows you don't understand Hooters if you think our eyes are focused on the ground. And honestly, if Real American Beer does successfully acquire Hooters, I'm expecting the new menu to include something called the leg drop wings and a dessert named What You Gonna Do When These Ice Cream Sundaes Run Wild on You. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI and nice Hooters.
From the creators of Palace Intrigue, a new chapter in royal history begins. William and Kate's wedding captures the world's attention, but royal life isn't as perfect as it seems. Tensions rise as Harry meets Meghan, sparking a divide that will shake the monarchy to its core. From explosive interviews to family scandals, the royal family faces its most public challenges ever. As King Charles takes the throne, the future of the monarchy hangs in the balance. Family secrets, royal rifts, and the future of the crown. Crown and Controversy, wherever you get your podcasts.
From Calaroga Shark Media comes Celebrity Trials, the explosive new podcast that exposes the truth behind America's most captivating cases. I'm Reed Carter, and I'll take you inside real live daily trials and classic celebrity cases where fame, power, and justice collide. From Jeffrey Epstein's billion-dollar sex trafficking empire to the prep school killer who walked free, from family annihilators to celebrity plea deals. Discover the shocking verdicts, twisted evidence, and cultural forces that shape American justice. These aren't just crimes, they're cultural moments that reveal who we really are. Justice isn't always swift, but it's absolutely riveting. Celebrity Trials, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Alligator Alcatraz, a new podcast from Calaroga Shark Media. They built a detention center in the Florida Everglades to separate families and break spirits. Surrounded it with alligators, figured that'd be the end of it. What they didn't count on was Tommy Esperanza, a quiet maintenance worker who turned their bureaucratic nightmare into something extraordinary. While corrupt politicians profited from human suffering and incompetent officials created disasters with PowerPoint presentations, Tommy built an underground network that reunited families, exposed massive fraud, and brought down a congressman. Where the Gators were smarter than the guards, families fought back against systematic cruelty, and one man proved that wisdom beats authority every single time. Alligator Alcatraz, available wherever you get your podcasts.